What's up, guys? So if you've been listening or watching the podcast, then you know I'm getting married very soon, as in today marks 9 more days until wedding day. Now, if you watched or listened to the podcast last week, then you know I mentioned that there is a special surprise coming this month. What could it be? That surprise is that I am handing over the podcast just for the next 3 weeks. While I get married, go on a honeymoon, and I'm going through all the pure chaos that the next few weeks involve, I also wanted to just be able to soak it in. So, Bella, my niece slash basically sister, is really taking her maid of honor duties to the next level and will be taking over the podcast for the next 3 weeks. I am so excited for you guys to hear what the Lord has put on her heart, and I hope that you enjoy her portion as much as I do on a daily basis. I love you guys so much. Thank you for coming to the garden, and I'll see you guys in 3 weeks. Bye.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the garden. I'm Bella Balzanna. I'm Taryn's niece slash sister, and I'm going to be taking over the garden for the month of January while she is dealing with all things wedding, and I am so excited. A little bit about me. I'm 17. I'm a senior in high school, and I am so unbelievably honored to be doing this. So thank you so much for this opportunity, Taryn. But yeah, I'm so excited. This is so cool. And this is the big surprise we were talking about last week. And I'm just so excited. So, a few months ago, I was listening to Sadie Robertson's podcast. I love her podcast. But she was talking about how her friend had asked her if she knew the true meaning of a mustard seed. And I thought this was really cool because I know we've all heard about having faith the size of a mustard seed and how cool that can be and how many cool things it can do, like move mountains and things like that. But do you know what a mustard seed actually is capable of? So after I heard her talk about this and the true meaning of a mustard seed, I've not been able to get it out of my head since, and I wrote it down. I have 3 topics, ironically, that I felt like the Lord had laid on my heart, and I had put in my notes and put a description with them. And then a few days ago, Taryn asked me if I would want to take over the podcast for the month of January and do 3 episodes by myself, and I was like, what? This is crazy. So this is what those topics were for. And I showed them to her and she loved them, and here we are. So this was one of them, and I'm so excited about this. So yeah, we're going to be studying in Matthew chapter 17. We're also going to take a look at chapter 21. In chapter 17, we'll be looking at verses 14 through 20, and then in 21, we'll be looking at 18 through 22. So, I'm so excited to be doing this. This is crazy. And I don't know how this will go. So, I'm going to try my best and have the least amount of editing for Taryn. And I don't know how long this will be, but we're already at 4 minutes, so it's looking pretty good. But anyways, I'm going to read first Matthew chapter 17, verses 14 through 20. And when they came to the crowd, a man came up to him and, kneeling before him, said, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he has seizures and suffers terribly. For often he falls into fire and often into the water. And I brought him to your disciples, and they could not heal him. And Jesus answered, O faithless and twisted generation, how long am I to be with you? How long am I to bear with you? Bring him here, to me. And Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him, and the boy was healed instantly. Then the disciples came to Jesus privately and said, Why could we not cast it out? He said to them, Because of your little faith. For truly I say to you, if you have faith like a grain of mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, Move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. So, we see here that the Lord says, like in the Bible. It says, like a grain of a mustard seed, not the size of a grain of a mustard seed. So, then we're going to move to Matthew 21, verses 18 to 22. This is when Jesus had, I'm just going to read it. In the morning, as he was returning to the city, he became hungry. And seeing a fig tree by the wayside, he went to it and found nothing on it, but only leaves. And he said to it, May no fruit ever come from you again. And the fig tree withered at once. When the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, "How did the fig tree wither at once?" And Jesus answered them, "Truly I say to you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what has been done to the fig tree, but even if you say to this mountain, 'Be taken up and thrown into the sea,' it will happen. And whatever you ask in your prayer, you will receive if you have faith." Okay, I'm going to read to you some of the notes that I took last night when I was reading through Matthew 17. We see here that Jesus tells the disciples that they must have faith like a grain of a mustard seed, not the size of a grain of a mustard seed, much like society implies. Sure, having faith, even a little bit, is super valuable, of course, but that is simply not what Jesus is expressing here. He says like a mustard seed. The definition of a mustard seed is invasive. Once it takes root, it crowds out and destroys other plants, dominating the soil until it owns the whole field. Mustard seed was feared by farmers because it couldn't be controlled, and it was impossible to get rid of. So when Jesus told his disciples they didn't have big enough faith, he didn't mean the size amounted to less than a mustard seed. He meant their faith wasn't uncontainable, invasive, dominating, and unstoppable. Once planted, faith should be unshakable and unstoppable, not coexisting with fear and doubt. It takes full authority and establishes God's kingdom. So Jesus isn't talking about tiny faith, but aggressive, consuming, fire-filled, mountain-moving faith. We see more of this in Matthew 21 through 22, where Jesus had cursed the fig tree, and the disciples asked how he did it. Jesus responds saying, "If you have faith and do not doubt, you can not only do what Jesus has done by cursing the fig tree, but even greater things like move mountains or throw them into the sea," like he mentions in verse 21. Jesus isn't talking about having a seed-sized amount of faith, but to have unshakable, fire-filled, invasive, uncontainable, kingdom-building faith. And we will do what the world deems impossible and what Jesus sees as unstoppable. So that is the faith that he's talking about when he says faith like a grain of mustard seed. So I took some more notes. That was a little choppy, but we're getting through it. Okay. God wants us to glean from the inside out with faith, not just have what amounts to a mustard seed. He wants everyone to see that we not only walk in faith, but we live by our faith. Every step of every day, we just have faith in everything that we do, and the Lord gives us strength. He tells us that he is in us and with us all the time, giving us the strength that we need to not only accomplish what he's calling us to do or what he's walking us through, but to go above and beyond, and to where it's clear that God is with you, or with me, just with us. What the Bible means when it says have faith like a mustard seed is that what the Bible means when it says have faith like a mustard seed is that even through the trials and the difficult times, we still keep our faith and never question if God will deliver. He doesn't want us to ask for healing. He wants us to claim the healing, demand the demons be cast out of the boy's body. That's why the disciples couldn't do it, because faith and fear don't coexist, or doubt or whatever. You have to have faith that what you're walking in or going to do is going to happen because of the God that we serve. It's not, you don't get to be 50-50, just like being a lukewarm Christian is the most dangerous place to be. It's the same thing with faith. If you have faith, or so you say, that what the Lord has shown you or told you is going to happen, you can't be like, "Oh, I don't know. I mean, I know he created the heavens and the earth and me and my whole family and everything I look at out the window, but I don't know if he's going to pull through on this one." That's not how it works. That's why he gets irritated with the disciples and is like, "How long am I going to have to show you?" All you have to do is have unwavering, unshakable faith that is just gleaming within you from the inside out, that everybody sees you are walking in faith. That is what gets you through things, not being lukewarm in your faith and being like, "Oh, yeah, maybe he'll get it done, maybe not. This is kind of a big ask." But no, what the Lord has for you is going to happen. You just have to have faith. That's the only thing you have to do, is have faith in him and be obedient to what he calls you to do and his word. That's it. And you can do things like pick up a mountain and throw it into the sea. He literally tells us that in the Bible. Not only will we be able to do things like he did, like curse the fig tree, but things unimaginable. So it's really, really important. You can't allow fear and doubt when you have faith in something, because it has to consume you and be unshakable when it can't. If you, in the back of your mind, have thoughts of fear and things, if all that it takes is your faith, how is it supposed to happen when you don't even have faith in something that you're trying to do? I hope that made sense. And I hope I didn't repeat myself too much. Anyways, having faith like a mustard seed doesn't mean that exactly what you want will happen exactly when you want it, but it does mean that we're able to keep faith through every season. So even if something isn't happening the way you thought it would or when you thought it would, that's all part of having faith like a mustard seed. It's unwavering and unshakable. So no matter how it looks ahead or how dark the valley is, you have to keep your faith, because when God tells you something's going to happen, it's going to happen. It may not look how you thought it would, or the conditions might be right in our brains, but the God we serve told you something's going to happen. It's going to happen, and you just have to keep the faith. The Bible does tell us in Matthew 21, chapter 21, verse 21 through 22, that if we have faith and no doubt, faith like a mustard seed, whatever we ask in prayer, we will receive if we have faith. So the key to getting your prayers answered is having faith that He will prevail and what He's told you will happen, and that all the things in the Bible are true. All you have to do is keep your faith. And it's not easy. It's not. It is hard, especially when you know that the Lord has called you to do something and you feel disqualified, or not disqualified. Especially when the Lord has called you to do something you don't feel qualified enough. That's hard to keep the faith. It's like, Lord, how am I going to do that when there's so many people who do the same thing, but they have this degree and they have this certification and all the things? You have to keep faith that if He's called you to it, He'll make it happen, and He'll qualify you in whatever way necessary. It's hard, whether it's a business plan, a relationship, a move, or that you're going to be a speaker. No matter what it is, it's hard because we don't know the plan. All we can do is trust in Him that it will happen, because He is a good God and He does what He says. But it's hard. It's hard. Especially, it's hard to deal with doubt. It's hard to watch everybody else achieving things. It's all hard. But keeping faith is the most important thing. But I thought it was really, really cool to hear, because I've heard having faith the size of a mustard seed my whole life, but to find out that's not actually what He meant. He means so many. It's strong, and I've said all the words a million times, but unwavering, unshakable, and world changing. You can't just give up with the slightest amount of doubt. And I just thought that was so cool, and it stuck with me ever since then. I think about it daily. I'm not even kidding. So when I hear faith like a mustard seed, I don't think about the size. I think about the consuming, unshakable, huge, unwavering, immovable, strong, and enduring mustard seed that is the example we should strive for our faith to resemble. And honestly, after I heard this, I really assessed myself, because, again, it's just like reading Genesis. We've all kind of done it a million times or heard it a million times, so we don't feel the need to really dive into it. But now that I've dove into this, I can't get it off my mind. And same thing with Genesis. Once we dove into it with our small group, it is such a monumental book of the Bible, and I'm so happy that we read it and went over it the way we did. And it's the same way with this. I'm so happy I came across that part of Sadie's podcast, and I'm so happy that I read about it and I took notes and I really dove into what that actually meant and the impact that it can actually have. Having faith is so, so important if you want to achieve any of the things that the Lord has called you to do, or He's shown you that's going to happen, or told you that's going to happen, because you're going to walk through difficult seasons. You don't know what that could look like. You're going to go through highs. You're going to go through lows. You're going to go through trials and difficulties. That's what I was looking for. You're going to go through trials and difficulties. But the most important thing is that you keep your faith. It's going to be hard not to doubt and things like that, but we struggle with that every day. But just to know what the Lord promises us when we do keep faith, and we, like the grain of a mustard seed, and it doesn't coexist with fear and doubt, I feel like that's also so much more peaceful when we don't allow fear and doubt to take over in our minds, and we just know that I have faith in my God, and I know what he's capable of, and I know what he's promised me, and that's it. There's nothing else to it. I feel like that's so peaceful to know the things that he promises us when we do keep our faith in him, and not just faith in our hearts, but our mouth saying other things. Completely keeping, like, no, I know what God told me, and I know it's going to happen. I don't know when, or I don't know how, but I know it's going to happen. So that is all I have for you guys. I hope that made sense. I think it went well, but we'll see. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I cannot wait for the next 2 weeks of me taking over Taryn's podcast. Thank you so much, Taryn, and thank you guys for listening. Bye.